This episode is going to be an update on a previous episode that I released about prices and if you should display them on your website. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Lex, the host of Up in My Business, or your host. I am excited to talk today about pricing and if you should put those prices on your website. It is going to be an update of a previous episode that I released, which I should have grabbed the actual episode number before I jumped on the podcast. So I'm going to do that while I'm chit-chatting. But I had a client of mine basically reach out and was like, hey, so you should do an update on that podcast episode because your opinion and suggestion has changed as far as like what you recommended. And I was like, you are not wrong. It's episode 6. So this is going to be an update from episode 6, which was originally released on, Lord have mercy, beginning of 2023. So that's a long time ago. Going to be doing an update on that podcast, or the suggestions inside that podcast. Now, as always, we'll go through all the different opinions out there and my specific suggestion and where my head's at on things. But before we jump in, we'll go over life and business updates, life things, nothing really to report on the fire. Everything is, like I said, it's such a weird experience to be so close, but yet so far. We're basically unaffected. I want to say we're not unaffected. The air quality is bad. To be honest with you, I am a lot less concerned than Shantae is, and call it wisdom and ignorance. I'm okay with it. I don't know. I just can't bring myself to be as concerned about it than I should be, I guess. I guess a little bit more of like ignorance is bliss in my mind. And also I'm just like, I don't know. I at the expense of like my mental health and what have you, like we haven't played volleyball in 2 weeks, which that sounds ridiculous to be like, we haven't played volleyball. Meanwhile, people are losing their homes. I don't think we should be tragedy comparing anyway, but regardless, it's cold outside. So if it wasn't cold, I would be going to volleyball just because I think I can tolerate being outside for an hour and a half and having the air quality not be amazing. I'm also like, we live in LA, so I'm not breathing in like the woodland forest air every day. So I know that air quality in general is shit here. So I don't know. In the bad stuff, quote unquote, apparently isn't really picked up on the air quality index anyway. Like if there's asbestos in the air, that's not going to be picked up. So I don't really know. I'm not really sure where my head's at. I know that's a thing and kind of choosing to just not let it bother me. But that's kind of where we're at as far as the fire goes. Nothing to really report. Like it's getting better. I know that it's over 50% contained now, so that's great. Great timing as well because we have more Santa Ana winds coming, so the winds always make that worse. But that's really all there is to report. Life stuff is all, same old, same old. I had someone reach out to me because the people who, I don't know everyone who listens to my podcast, obviously. I don't have every single person reach out to me, but I did have someone reach out to me with a question about, in my episode 2 episodes ago, I talked about my word of the year being intentional and the things that I'm doing in order to make good on my word, or what actionables I'm taking toward that word. So I mentioned I'm doing therapy. I am doing coaching. It's more like a life coach, if you will, but it's definitely, it's hand in hand with my therapy experience as well. So I'm doing them both and they're great. It's a great match. And the universe spoke to me, like both of their names are Mandy. So it's just like the universe put that into my ether, and I had to say yes, because one, I was looking anyway, and two, for them both to be Mandy, like I must listen. So doing that. And then I also mentioned that I was going to be taking voice lessons with Billie Eilish's voice coach. I had my first lesson on Friday. And the reason I actually reached out, and I mentioned this in the episode, is that I can't talk without having a sore throat. And it's getting really frustrating. And it's kind of, for lack of better terms, I know that a 2-hour call, like my SEO school Q&A calls, I know that I'm going to leave that call with a sore throat. And it's really frustrating because that never used to be the case. So he gave me a lot of exercises in the first session just to like essentially expose my vocal cords to different things and to determine where my resting or like non-exertional, I guess, tone is. So depending on where my voice sits naturally, sometimes if you're speaking, you can essentially work it out too hard. And then also bringing up my tolerance for speaking in general and where my tone should be in order to use my voice with ease rather than force. So we did a lot of exercises and things that I can do during the day and things that I can incorporate. And the easiest way to describe how I felt afterward was that my throat felt like it was open and not tight, because the vocal cords themselves don't have nerve endings, but you can have a sensation of tightness or openness depending on how the vocal cords are feeling and being used. And for me, I've had a feeling of tightness in my throat after speaking. And after doing all of the warm-ups and the exercises that he gave me, I had like a big feeling of openness. And it was a very, enlightening. It was great. Most of the exercises I have like been slowly kind of exposed to as a PT, and also just like listening to people warm up before they sing, but it was still very, very, very helpful. And I know that it's going to be really helpful for business. The other thing that we're going over, obviously, because so developing singing tolerance and like actual voice tolerance, those go hand in hand. So we worked a lot on like matching pitch and scales, and like I would never classify myself as a singer, like period. I would never classify myself as a singer. I don't love sing. Like I like to sing, but I know when I sing in the car or if I'm singing in the house, even now, like Shantae's a very good singer. So when I sing, I'm like, I know I'm not as good as her. And so I feel a little intimidated. Not that it's like a competition, but I don't like to like ruin a song. So if we're listening to a song, I sometimes will sing, but oftentimes I choose not to, just because I don't know. I don't think I'm good. But he was like, no, like he would play notes on the piano and I can match it very well with my voice. I played an instrument. So I played the saxophone and the French horn. So it's not surprising to me that I can like hear pitch and I'm not completely tone deaf. But it's just, you want to make sure you're good, right? So I don't know if anyone else has this experience. I mean, I know other people have this experience, but you sing along in the car and then like the music turns off and you're like, wow, I sound like shit. So I don't want that experience. I would like to be able to sing in the car. I told him, he asked me what my goals are. And I was like, I honestly want to be able to sing in the car or in the house and have it sound decent. I'm not asking to be good, just decent. And then I would love, because I'm not like a big karaoke person, but if I were out with someone and there was karaoke and I was put on the stage to do karaoke, I want to be the surprise factor. I want to be like, oh God, here she comes. And then like surprise people and be good. That would be something I would want. I sang a lot of karaoke when I was younger. My dad had a bar and my friends and I used to sing karaoke all the time. And in college and high school and, beyond. So I would love to be the surprise factor. Just something I've always wanted to do. And the coolest thing that has happened or that came out of this is I told my really good friend one of my best friends, for God knows how many years at this point. I told her about doing this, and she was like, oh, it's really funny that you're saying this, because I've been thinking about, I love listening to piano covers. I love listening to music with piano in it. And like my body like feels really good when I listen to piano songs. And she's like, I've been thinking about learning how to play the piano. And she's like, you're kind of inspiring me. And I was like, do it. Of course, do it. So if you've been on the edge and thinking about learning how to do something, go do it. I am an adult and I'm learning how to sing for both work purposes, but also life. And I also am playing volleyball, like beach volleyball, which is very different than indoor volleyball. I think people are like, oh, you played volleyball before. And I'm like, it's very different. These are two different sports. Yes, the skills translate, but also very different sports. I'm doing that as an adult. Like, yes. And lastly, I've been living here for almost 2 years. Well, not almost 2 years. It's been like a year and a half, a solid year and a half. So July of 2023. And I went to but I went to a friend meetup on Friday night. We had paint night, and that was part of my intentional act. Like, I didn't want to say yes because I never want to leave the house. I don't want to get ready. I don't want to commit myself to doing anything. And I was like, in this moment, I need to be intentional with how I'm spending my time. And I told myself I would do this. So I said yes. And it was great. It was fun. It was amazing. So just all the reportings there. Okay, now on to business stuff. Obviously, the voice coaching, hopefully that will improve my podcast and it may improve my coaching call. But we were working on like where I should be talking and the tone in which I would be talking. And so I'm trying to figure out where my voice is the least aggravated and where the tone needs to sit. Because obviously you need to go up and down, but there are ways to make it so that you're not forcing speech. And anyway, we'll see what happens there. One of the coolest things, I did not mention this, one of the coolest things, and I don't know if anyone has ever like experienced this, but of course I don't even know why I say that. Of course you've experienced this. When you're trying to get out a note or like you're singing and you're like, you have that feeling, you're like, whoa, that's high. So he had me go through, because he has to check like the vocal cord health and like how the vocal cords actually move and the difference between chest voice and head voice. And so I was in my chest voice range, and then I went into the head voice range. And when you translate up into the head voice range, your vocal cords actually the throat tips forward. Or no, it tips up, because chest voice is forward. It tips up. So literally like the structure of everything changes and the way that the vocal cords vibrate against each other changes. And I like had this high note come out of me because I was like, oh, this feels high. And then we went through some more warm-up activities and we went back to the other thing. And I did like this higher head note, if you will. And I was like, what the hell? I had no idea that sound could come out of my body. Like, it was so interesting. Anyway, just learning all the things. But regardless, it may change where my pitch is for speaking, because he may suggest like, oh, your speaking voice, you're forcing it. It's lower, because I always find myself to have like a lower nasally voice. But either way, we'll see what happens. Otherwise, business stuff, I will be I am doing a lot of transitions right now. Transitioning the way that I am working for certain clients. I'm transitioning my pricing. I'm transitioning my yeses and nos. So stay tuned, I guess. The reason is like I've said it for a really long time, but it's just me. So I don't have anybody working for me. I don't have anybody managing anything for me, social posts, anything. Like I do everything myself, and it's not a flex. Like I'm not saying that like it's all me. What I'm saying is that means that I have very limited time, meaning I want to work a certain amount of hours. And this is what makes me feel good. And yeah, so things are changing just to make sure that everything fits within that. And I have some new client demand as far as asks go. So working stuff around in my schedule to fit that, but all really exciting stuff. But just, I guess, another reminder that if you want to work together, a good place to start is a discovery call. For now, I'm still offering them pretty regularly, but the discovery call is a great place to start because we can get you on the schedule. Right now, I'm booking into March and April. Or all of March, or my 2 dates for Do It in a Days are open in March, and then I have 1 open in April. So stay tuned, but I just want to push, like, if you are interested in working together, I would suggest getting on my schedule ASAP. Okay, now I am going to talk today about pricing and putting your pricing on your website. So I will tell you that I have gone through, and you can go listen to episode 6 first if you want to. Life is very different now, and I've been in business a lot longer now, and I've witnessed a lot of other people be in business a lot longer now. I will tell you that people want to know what you're charging, period. So here's the deal. I know there are people who will tell you not to put your prices on your website so that you can get on the phone with them and convince them or coach them into understanding the value of a cash-based price or an out-of-network price. I will not say that that is wrong, because I will say, like, that is where my practice was at when I owned it. We had pricing available on the website because we said, like, this is the cost of our visit. This is the cost of regular PT or quote unquote insurance-based PT. Here's the difference. Here's what you get, yada, yada. So it was there. But I will say it was not blatant. It wasn't in bold. It wasn't big text. It wasn't like each visit costs this amount of money. So I know that many people operate on the model of, like, we're going to coach people around the value of this thing before they book. They're going to know it's cash-based, yada, yada. And because of that, people will book because they get coached into understanding the value of the price, and that's fine. So what I will say, though, and what I will say in addition to, is at this point, I have been working with a lot more people, and over the course of the last 2 years, since I recorded that last episode, I've worked with a lot of people, and I myself have also noticed a different trend in search results for SEO related concepts. And I also have been privy to seeing the layout of pricing as the patient, right? Or as the person seeking services. So here's the thing. I will say that at this point, I believe that your prices should be on your website. People should know what the price is for a multitude of reasons. One, if they know what the price is before they contact you or decide not to contact you, that will save them time and it will save you time, period. Right? So that will save you time. You're not going to get on the phone with someone who wants to pay a $25 copay. I will also say that when, especially my type of services, so my done for you services, the amount of people who request my service brochure and the amount of people I work with is drastically different. I would not, and I don't chase people. So my service brochure with my prices is available online. You can download it at any time. It has all of my prices laid out. It has very detailed, it doesn't include this, or this specific service includes, it doesn't include X, Y, and Z. It's very specific, and you know exactly what the price is that you're going to pay, or you know a base price, because for something like a website, I can't tell you that it's going to be $24.97 if you have a 10-page website. A basic 5-page website is $24.97, and then I have it laid out. Each additional page is $97. So there are a lot of different things that I've done over the course of it was really last year when I elevated, quote unquote, my word of the year. I really leaned into elevate to make everything that I had in existence better or more comprehensive or just more detailed. So all of my prices are on my website. If something is out of range for someone, there are many options on my service brochure that they can invest in before they buy, or if they want it, if they don't need the high ticket done for you service. But people get to see the price. And to be honest with you, before I did that, people would get on my discovery calls and they wouldn't know what a do it in a day costs. And I would tell them, and like, yes, I need to back up. All of these prices that are on my service brochure are also on my website. So I'm not like hiding it in my service brochure. All of them are on my website as well. So before that though, people were getting on discovery calls with me, and they'd, now that they'd back away from the pricing, because most people don't expect things to be $2 at this point, but especially like a full custom website. But anyway, I used to have a question on my service brochure intake, or my contact form, that was like, what is your budget? Which I absolutely hate that question. And I deleted it last year because I was like, this question is so stupid. I don't enjoy it. Like, I don't care what your budget is. You care what your budget is. Here are all my options. Fit your budget within the option. And I will help people. I'm not going to have you go out of your budget. I'm not going to tell you to put on your credit card if you can't afford it. Like, that is totally your business, and how you handle that is on you. And I feel like other companies that are asking you what your budget is, if you said $5,000, they're going to find a $5,000 service for you. Whereas I'm like, if your budget is $1,000, I'm not going to offer you a service that's more than that. And I don't care. Like, if your budget's $1,000, you have the autonomy to choose to work with me for a service that is within your budget. It's not my job to decide what you can and can't afford. I just present you with the stuff that I have. So anyway, I will say that when people know the pricing ahead of time, I can get onto a discovery call and we just talk about logistics, like what makes the most sense. You've seen all the prices. What do you feel like it makes the most sense for your situation? And they can go forth. When it comes to a service like PT, therapy in general, chiro, knowing the price ahead of time and allowing people to know the price ahead of time is, I understand, for a lot of people scary, because they feel like they're going to get less people. And I understand if you're new in the business, you may say like, I'm never going to list my prices. That's crazy, because then people who don't understand the value just won't book because it's expensive. I will tell you that within the last 2 years, search results have showed that a lot of people are searching for cash-based or out-of-network or private pay services. And the thing is most people have these terrible high deductible plans, or most people who are working with the people that are in my audience, because you're working with active people, quote unquote, motivated people, CrossFit athletes, runners, whatever it may be. Those people know that if they need healthcare, they are going to have to go outside of their insurance. Unless you work for this rock star company and you have insurance-based care. And even so, I will tell you, like, most people, and you know this as a practitioner, most people have gone to like an insurance-based practice and then feel like they haven't gotten better, or feel like they don't understand them, especially someone like a CrossFit athlete. They're like, they just told me not to do CrossFit, or they told me that my knees are bad and I shouldn't be doing squats. So it's one of those things where, people know what they need and they know what they don't want. So I will say that, like I said, in the last 2 years, people are searching for this out-of-network cash pay, private pay care, because they know that it's going to be good and they want individualized attention. And people generally don't even feel like they want to use their insurance for the people that we're typically working with. They know the value of going out of network, and people who want to use their out-of-network benefits, fine. But people will oftentimes be searching for that care at this point. So you don't need to, quote unquote, convince them that you're better with like not leaving your prices on your website. All you need to do is just do a good job, have people refer to you, have a website that speaks directly to your ideal client, tell them that you can help them, and then tell them the price. Most people don't want to mess around online. Like, how frustrating is it to have 6 browsers open with all these different practices? Because that's what people do. All these different practices are here. All of them are not going to be speaking directly to them. If someone spoke directly to them, told them that they could help them because you are niched down enough to do that, and then you said it's going to be $200 per time, most people will say, awesome. This person understands me. This person gets it. This person is the person that I can go to because they know exactly what I'm talking about. They can help me. I'll pay whatever it is to get it taken care of. And the other thing too is people, a lot of people have been burned by their insurance as well. Like, they have gone to quote unquote insurance-based care they have been referred to insurance-based care. They go there, they get treatment, they either feel better or not, but then they get hit with a bill afterward. Like, I have personal experience around that. So it's like, yes, people know that. So they're like, if you can give me price transparency from the get-go and tell me exactly what this session is going to cost, exactly what this service is going to cost each time, and I don't have to like worry about getting a bill in the mail, that's awesome. That is awesome. You know, and the thing is people, because people are aware of what it costs and they're aware of the quality of care, and they also see that you're someone that can help specifically them because you say stuff like they can relate to on your website, they will book with you. Like, and you know, this goes hand in hand with my recent episode. And now I need to double check that I'm going to say which episode it was recently. Episode 101, I talked about how to get your patients to read your welcome emails. Inside that episode, I did state that it's helpful to let people schedule their own appointments. So when I reached out to my therapist, her fees were right online. So I knew exactly what it was going to cost me. I knew it was in my budget. I knew it was out of network. And I decided to submit the contact form because I couldn't schedule myself. She had to basically talk to me, make sure that, you know, I could work with her based on my goals, yada, yada, yada. And then I booked my first visit. So I had to actually contact her, get on the phone so email back and forth before I booked my first session. I understand that may be your process. If that's working for you and that's what you prefer and you want to talk to people, fine. I will also tell you that there are ways around that if you feel like you're only doing that to make sure that they know that you're a cash pay provider. The way to do that and how you can get around that, go listen to episode 101 because I talk about that. It's about, you know, getting people to read your first email and how you can change the patient scheduling sequence to make sure that they know that you're a cash pay clinic. There are many things that you can do around that. So just not displaying your prices and not letting people book because you want to make sure that make sure they know that you're a cash pay provider. Like, no. The other thing too, I just want, you know, people are worried about displaying their prices because people are going to leave. And, you know, back to what I had just said, if you promise them that you have the solution for them, most people are so tired of doing research and they just want an easy solution to their problem. Easy, meaning it's easy to find. And they found someone who gets them and they know that they're not going to have to be, you know, running around to multiple providers. They know they're not going to have to explain to you what CrossFit is. Like, they know that you get it. People will pay for that. So I think we need to give people more credit and more autonomy in the whole process. They need to be able to see the price, understand that this is what they get with that. And that's where your website copy comes in. That's where your marketing comes in. That's where talking to your ideal client comes in. That's where having brand photos that display what you do come in, regardless if you take them with your iPhone or if you get them taken professionally. That's where everything comes into play. It all adds up to the fact that this person trusts you enough to help them so that they can then get back to whatever it is they want to do, in addition to having your price up front. Price transparency is huge. And I think that we don't embrace it enough at this point because people are well informed. And a lot of the people that we work with, and I say we because if I were to practice again, I would say we as well. If we were to work with these people, or we are working with these people who are very well informed, they know what they're getting into. They know that they need to pay out of pocket because the insurance company doesn't care if they can run. Like, it makes sense. And, you know, I will tell you that you're still going to get people to call the clinic. So if you have a statement on there, we are private pay. If you have questions about this, feel free to give our clinic a call. Like, all right, that's great. If you want to know more, give us a call. Or if you want to know more, submit a form. But at least the people who are like, I know that I cannot afford $200 a session, or I cannot afford $200. And you have to obviously tell them what they're getting. I'm seeing you once a week. So it's $200 for 1 week. And then the next week you pay $200 for your next session. It's not 3 times a week, because if you think about it, most people are used to the typical PT script of 3 times a week for 12 weeks. So they're like, well, how am I going to afford $200 a session 3 times a week? That's insane. I know some people who go as far as showing what PT clinics are billing insurance companies and what their cost is. So, and what you could potentially end up paying in backlogged fees because the insurance company denied them. Like, I know people who go into this, and you can write a blog about it. You can put it in your FAQs. I'd put it in both. But the thing is have your prices up front. And I know I can think of 2 people off the top of my head right now that have basically said, like, I'm so sick and tired of having the conversation on the phone about whether or not I take insurance. To solve that problem, put it on your website. We do not take insurance. We are fee for service. Payment is due at the time of service. If you give super bills, you can state that on there. We give you a super bill that you can then submit to your insurance company after the fact for out-of-network reimbursement, but we cannot guarantee reimbursement to you. And then you discuss why. Why do you do that? We want to have X, Y, and Z treatment. We want to make sure that we get you what you need. We want to make sure that your treatment is effective, yada, yada, yada. There are so many things that you can do to lay out your pricing on your website and say why you do it the way you do it, and then give people the autonomy to say yes or no. And once they say no, understand that a lot of people may come to terms with the fact that, like, okay, I will go pay the money because I tried this other thing, it didn't work, or I have searched and searched and searched, and you're the best option for the thing that I'm needing. So I do think we need to give people more autonomy. I do think we need to give people permission to see our prices before they reach out to us. I think if we're sick and tired of having the conversation, then the easiest way to stop having the conversation is to put it up front for everyone to see. And honestly, I don't think that hiding prices or making people call you or submit a form to get a price is necessarily the best option if you want to come across as someone who is having price transparency. Like, I get it. You say you have price transparency, meaning when they pay and they know the cost, they know exactly what they're paying. But I do think the process could start before that when you're putting your prices on your website. And just say, like, we have pricing transparency. It's $200, not we have pricing transparency, but call us to see what the price is. So I get it. It might be something that you are disagreeing with. You might turn this podcast off and say, well, that was a waste of my time because I disagree. That's fine. Feel free to disagree with me. I do think that based on the people that I have worked with and the people I have seen make the switch, it's a very nice switch to make because you know that you are being the most transparent as possible, and you're not trying to convince anybody on the phone of whether or not it's worth it. And the other thing is, like, you are, for lack of better terms, putting the autonomy back in the patient's hands when we know a lot of autonomy is taken from patients and taken from us as individuals within the medical system. We know this, we feel this, especially when you use insurance. Like, we all have been in a position, I can assume, where your autonomy of who you want to go see is taken from you. Like, I can only go see certain primary care providers. And if I go see a different provider, it's not within my insurance. So like that right there, like, yes, it's because I enrolled in a specific insurance, but I also know that that is taking part of my autonomy. I can't choose who to go see. Now, would I go there? Probably not. Like, I literally have it on my card because I'm required to, not because that's a provider I trust. So it's one of those things that I get it. I understand it's hard. It's a different way of thinking, especially in the cash-based PT world, where a lot of people do say, like, don't put your prices on your site, get them to call you before they book, get them to call you before you tell them the price. But, I just feel like, one, let's give people the autonomy back that they may not be getting elsewhere. Two, if people can't afford you, talking on the phone is likely not going to get them to afford you. It's just going to get them to understand your value. And I get it. I've had many of calls where people are like, oh, I didn't know that's what that meant. A good way to solve that is to put it on your website. And if they want to call you, put the offer on the website. Say, you can also call us to understand our pricing. This is what each session includes. This is the comparison. This is what you do and don't get. This is the value written out for you. If you have more questions, give us a call. And just based on the fact that most people are looking for, or a lot of people are looking for private pay, cash pay, out of network care. Most people are searching for that now. It's not new. In most practices, most people at this point are out of network. So it's like, it's almost so normal for things to not be covered that in order for us to, for lack of better terms, get the patients that are already doing the research, they're already looking for the things that they need, having our prices right on our website is a really good idea. All right. I know that I am anticipating I'm going to get backlash on this. I'm anticipating that I'm going to have people disagree with me. I know this, and I know, like, because if you listen to episode 6, my opinion has changed, and I own that. And that's exactly why a client of mine was like, you should reverse that episode. Like, you should re-record that. So here I am. And based on what I'm seeing in trends as a patient, based on what I would have been experiencing as far as seeing other business go through this transition, I do think it's super valuable. And I do think that as a patient myself, I just want to know what your cost is up front. Don't make me look for it. Don't hide it from me. Don't, surprise me on the phone. It's helpful to not have the sticker shock factor. And if I have more questions, then I'm able to call you. If it's too much, it's likely just going to be too much. And that's where, the cookie cutter website doesn't really come in handy. You need to make sure that you're talking to your ideal client and you are specific and you lay out exactly what everything includes and doesn't include. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. This episode's really long. It's the longest one I've had in a bit. Thank you so much. I would love to know what you think. I know that this opinion is not like I know that Shantae is very much so on the same, in the same corner, and we've talked about it a lot. So we definitely share the opinion there, but I know like a lot of people fight really hard to make sure prices are not on the site. And I do think at the end of the day, it's your choice, and you can try one, you could try one and try the other and see what works better. It doesn't matter to me what you do and how you take this episode. You might never listen to this podcast again. Okay. I'm so sorry that I lost you, but it is what it is. I just want to put my opinion out there and have an updated episode on where my head's at when it comes to listing prices, because I want to be transparent with you. And I do think that that's a value of mine. And I'm being very intentional again with releasing this episode and acknowledging the fact that my opinion has changed. And maybe right now you are more aligned with episode number 6, and that's a-okay. I would give yourself the permission over time to be more in line with this episode. So, all right. I said I'd get off my soapbox, and now I'm still on it. Thank you so much for listening. That's all I've got for you today, and looking forward to, the whole rest of the year and continuing on with Intentional and hearing from you and hearing the episode suggestions. I get your emails. I see them. Thank you for sending suggestions over. I will continue to work through those and make them come to the podcast. Okay, friends, I'm going to go. I will catch you next time.